Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. Here at the Cantina podcast, we provide top shelf service, including rumors, leaks, news, and reviews. Come in, order a Loman Ale, and remember, no droids allowed. Hello everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to the Cantina, LRMonline.com's premier Star Wars podcast. This is our first non-review episode, so it's going to be really free-form, shorter episode. I'm working on maybe a fun intro or something like that. We'll see what happens in the future, but I'm joined as always by my co-host Cam Clark.
Hey.
What's up, bud?
Hey, yeah, all good. Ready
Man,
to...
it's
Sorry?
It's weird to think about talking Star Wars without having to go over in depth a
Something.
2-hour movie or a eight episode long season, and this is going to be fun.
Definitely. And,
Yeah,
as things go on, we're going to have more and more news to sort of discuss, get into new stuff we didn't know before. Of course, since the Disney Investor Day, there's not a lot new to learn. There hasn't been, very little sort of news on the Star Wars front at all, because basically after such a big massive dump of official information. So other than the sort of week after we found out about Boba Fett and the Mandalorian finished and everything like that, we really haven't had much even in the way of gossip recently.
Yeah. No, I mean, we know Andor 2022, Obi-Wan 2022,
Yeah.
Ahsoka and Rangers, no date.
No date.
Bad Batch,
That's this
that
year, isn't it?
is-
That's first.
now, right?
Well, not now, but I think it's summer, or something like that. It's this year, I believe.
Early or summer, yeah, something like that.
Well, let me
Anyways,
well, you.
Acolyte. I can't wait to start hearing some more about that. I've got an interesting theory.
Just
what
says,
is
sorry, just on
is that
the Bad Batch, it says 21 at the moment.
okay? 21. I got this crazy ass theory that Shmi is actually a Witch of Dathomir or something like that. Maybe that could be really, really fucking stupid.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't be what this show's about anyway, because she would be far too young. So the timeline we're kind of looking at officially
that's right.
we've heard
The
it's
High,
about
the
100 years
end of the High Republic.
prior to the events of the Phantom Menace. So, given what we know officially about timelines and everything,
How do we know it's 100 years prior to
we've heard that officially through Star Wars. Something come out that said
okay, because originally they
at the tail
they had
end
just
of
said
the
final days, yeah.
But it's been kind of worked
days,
to be basically 100 years prior to the Phantom Menace. So I think that rules out things like a Darth Maul show, which I think some people were going with. Which didn't quite work for me in a female-led show anyway, because Darth Maul's a male character, so that wouldn't have really worked out for me anyway. But the timeline I think we're talking about here is more Plagueis' kind of timeline in terms of Sith Lords. I think we're even talking...
If he existed.
If he existed. I mean, that could be complete fabrication on Palpatine's part. I always find that scene is told from the point of view of you should know it's an unreliable narrator. And Attack of the Clones, it was Revenge of the Sith, but that's the kind of, as far as I know though, we've had I think a book about Plagueis, and so I think it's kind of canon that Plagueis did exist.
The book was it unofficial? Is a Legends book.
Is it a Legends book? Right, okay.
Yeah, it's EU.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see. I know that in Colin Trevorrow's version of episode 9, they went back to meet Palpatine, and it was not Darth Plagueis, it was Tor Valum. So as much as that version was never made and therefore not canon whatsoever, it kind of makes you think that they weren't too sort of strict on that one. Does that make sense to even let it go kind of past that stage if they wanted to kind of to make sure that Darth Plagueis was the master of Darth Sidious going through? But that's the kind of timeline we're talking. We could be talking about like sort of a younger Darth Plagueis era here, but whether they would be involved, I mean, you just think there's something. We're talking about the re-emergence of the Sith, Acolyte in itself, the name, the red lightsaber slash through the kind of logo makes me feel we're dealing with the dark side a little bit here. So there could be some sort of, I don't know, connection between the Sith Lords of old. It could even be something that's more whoever was prior to Plagueis, actually. Do you know what I mean? Even before kind of his time.
And it could be...
I don't think we're looking at Palpatine or Maul or anything like that.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is the High Republic era that we're going to be told stories from only encompasses 200 years, and you're telling me the final days, the waning days, like the downward slope is 100 years, like from the middle. So they only they went up.
I think they're looking at sort of the last 200 to 150 years. Things started taking more of a downward spiral for what was the High Republic period. But I mean, going by our own history, that's not that unrealistic. We're talking about still 100 years. Although it might seem like, well, in a galaxy that's as old, and a republic that lasted 1,000 years. I mean, how long did it take Rome to fall realistically from the height of its power in the end?
Well, yeah, you can't compare.
And it wasn't exactly
earthbound humans.
It wasn't exactly in a deplorable state at the point we meet it at the Phantom Menace. Things accelerate exponentially from the point that Palpatine gets involved. So up until that point, it would be fine to say it was the waning of that era, the kind of twilight of the Jedi, if you like, without it being the end or particularly being too close to the High Republic.
So I just wonder if that means the whole High Republic era story, that whole 200 years prior is the fall of the High Republic. And this particular show is the last half of that
like the final
200-year fall.
Almost like a jigsaw piece between what we're going to get in sort of book format. For the moment, that could change, but for the moment, book format, and then what we already have comics in the Star Wars universe, which is modern in terms of the timeline that we've looked at, and this is a kind of show that's almost bridging the gap between those two, I think. And who knows if the Acolyte is a one and done, or it's going to carry on and go over a bigger period of time than we could anticipate as well. There's various possibilities there, and who knows what other spin-offs could come out of something like the Acolyte if it's popular. Look at the Mandalorian, if the Acolyte is huge and people love it, who knows what else they could decide to do within that period. So it could be like a testing ground, if you like to say, right, we're going to go outside of things. And I think Waititi's movie seems to be in a different timeline as well from what Kennedy said, although not really giving as many clues as to whether it's ahead or behind. But a different timeline for what we've seen at the moment anyway. So that could be the kind of push to let's test it from a theatre point of view before they push any further.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe the Acolyte and Waititi's movie could happen round about the same sort of within the year of each other, time frame wise. I mean, we think at the moment, 24 we think for Waititi's movie, is that, would you say? That's the base guess we had.
Rogue Squadron is 23.
Yeah.
So Waititi's I don't think until 25.
Because he's not got anything specific that we're aware of, let's just point that out, after Thor.
Yeah.
So I thought Star Wars would be his kind of next project. I thought there was a chance that we could maybe get Rogue Squadron, and then a year after with his movie.
Maybe, but Disney had said that they were gonna try to not do Star Wars films every year,
but they are
anymore,
connected to one another, though. They're very
that's
different.
True.
So
Rogue
really
One and Solo aren't connected to each other either.
And Solo bombed. Rogue One did well.
And
so it's
what was that?
Rogue One did well. Solo bombed.
Right, and then you have all the controversy with 7, 8, 9 with Rogue One and Solo in between.
The issue to me wasn't really like, I know you hate Solo, right? But I would have just called it a misstep, if it was just that and Rogue One we had, and then we moved into the Mandalorian, and that's all we had so far. I'd still be in a far more excited place as a fan, because I would have just saw one slight misstep, you slightly more, but something they could fix going forward, even if they wanted to explore that era more. And I think even you said that, if they took the same people and told a better story, and explored maybe some of the kind of murkier side of Han a little bit, you would actually you could still enjoy that, even though you hated Solo.
Yeah, that's what I.
And I think the underworld
wanted.
stuff, the Darth Maul Kira, there was a rumour within the last week that said those characters aren't done yet. There's still plans in place for them.
Care.
But actually, that underworld part of the galaxy at that point isn't really explored and could be interesting. But I'm more interested in seeing Kira than Darth Maul, which is strange to say as a Star Wars fan, because I don't know what happened to Kira. I already know so much about Darth Maul and his life and his death as well.
And then to try to fit in this
but Maul
dark underlord thing.
The occasional appearance, almost like holographically or as a kind of big bad in the background, but without having a real presence, could work. We'll still to see what happens with the Lando series. I mean, who knows? These are characters, both Kira and potentially Darth Maul, who could actually show up again within the Lando series if it uses Donald Glover and goes through that period of time. We thought it's maybe both of them, like Billy D almost telling, my idea was telling Jana, his daughter, about his life, because they don't know each other, and it would be that, you could flash back to stories with Donald Glover, and that could bring in Kira and Maul, but not as main players. But I'm sure, I don't know what's happening with Maul, but with the whole Ray Park thing, we had been told Ray Park was out the door, but that was some time ago, and maybe cooler heads have prevailed since then. I don't know, but I'd take Sam Witwer, even though it's just his voice that he does. So I'm quite happy. I don't really need to see Maul in any particular action scenes, to be honest with you. I've seen enough of that for Darth Maul. I've been more interested in seeing the kind of cold, calculated, almost Emperor-like figure, but from the criminal underworld, a Phantom Menace, if you like. So theoretically, Lando could skip round about those places. They could come in. I reckon Emilia Clarke, if you said to her, right, would you want to appear in this episode of Lando? Here's how much we'll pay you. She seems the type to be like, sure, let's go. Let's have a bit of fun and do it, you know what I mean? So, you never know.
Although, one thing that kind of disappointed me about the Acolyte was that I think it almost all but shoots down my Dathomir dark, maybe, thriller horror tone, because of the galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers. I don't know if anything that makes me feel exactly like you said, that one's gonna connect what we get in the print side of things, and the animated
Oh yeah, because
High Republic
we've heard
series.
there's a High Republic series coming, but we haven't had that officially yet. But that
not
seems
officially,
a good rumor.
but potentially. Yep. If we get all that this helps connect some dots to Papa Palpatine. That pretty much rules out the Darth Vader.
I think we have to
which
get away from as well, like that Palpatine's the bad guy. Palpatine was just the incumbent at the point. He was just the most successful, to be honest. All the Sith Lords, despite him still getting defeated in the end, he had the best run, didn't he? Really. The rest remained in the shadows, didn't quite, ever get to take over the universe. But
I mean,
he wasn't always the big
canon,
bad. The big bad is the Sith, and the Sith have been there for 1,000 years, even though they were in the shadows.
Yeah, like I said in the new canon, sure. I don't know. In the old canon, there were Sith empires that were
but that's way back.
Yeah.
That's Old Republic, and that's still in the canon, So, but from the Darth Bane days of hiding in the shadows and the Rule of Two and stuff like that, the Sith have kind of almost disappeared. So that's really as long as the Republic's lasted. Well, it's in the Phantom Menace. Yoda says they talk about it. The Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years.
Right,
I don't think the Sith could have returned where it is not.
Said.
Darth Bane, I think he was. I think he's officially canon. He was definitely in the Clone Wars, the episode where Yoda goes to what's the planet? I can't remember the name. I don't know if you'll remember it. The Sith planet. It's in the tip of my tongue. Yes, that's the one. I think
that's what I know it as.
I think that's the one. Yeah, and he has to kind of go through almost trials. And this is part of his teaching from Qui-Gon about, that he's still got a lot to learn, that Qui-Gon's obviously been communicating with basically the Whills, so that was in the Clone Wars, that sort of stuff, so I suppose, I'm pretty sure Darth Bane is a canon because he was in that, so he's definitely, I think, canonically the one who supposedly instigated the Rule of Two. So since then, rather than being extinct as the Jedi thought, they were just hidden and working on their own agenda. But not until almost 1,000 years later, Palpatine seems to be the one that has the guts to push things forward. But maybe that's because the Force willed it, because he just happened to be at the time of Anakin, and Anakin being what he was influenced the Force to go dark and light depending on which way he had chosen. So it could just be that kind of side of things. Maybe Palpatine would have been destined to fail or another Sith Lord would have been destined to fail if they tried the same thing in a different era. I don't know. This is just all pure conjecture on my part based on what we know from the sort of movies and the little bits of the new canon, as you say. It's sometimes it's difficult to differentiate
not a whole...
what goes on in your head, which you think the history of the Star Wars universe is, and what it actually is now, which is a different thing,
Yeah, it's there's a lot less on
all the shows
on the character.
The one
now
that intrigues me the most with just pure curiosity, not necessarily excitedness, just pure curiosity, is the Acolyte. To kind of feel like my brain knows what to expect from the other things, and Watiti's movie, which again we know so little about that it's therefore it's an enigma, and an enigma is always attractive to a certain mind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, we got a shit ton of stuff humming up. Andor, already pre-production sets being built. We saw that choreography and costume fitting, like they're in full swing.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan's expected to be into full swing in
month.
January.
I think they're building stuff at the moment as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some things to talk about, but
this is when leaks happen as well. You have to, it's important that the fans know that, because I was talking the other day there about Eternals, and saying how there's been so little news apart from leaked merchandise, because it's been under wraps, it's been finished, so nobody's making it, nobody's handling it on a day-to-day basis. It's going through less people's hands. When you're actually filming something, that's when you've got crew, caterers, all that sort of stuff, and that's when news gets out about productions. So that's when we do expect to hear the most stuff coming out that's unofficial.
But besides looking at all of those shows, we know like the Rangers, the New Republic, you and I discussed about who we think may
be about
be on that team, and the Ahsoka show, tying into Book of Boba Fett, and of course Mando season 3.
Whereas Andor and Obi-Wan, they're just their own thing. You know, they are just
Andor
their
and
own
Obi-Wan
thing.
are her own thing. And like you said, we know nothing about the Acolyte at all other than
the official blurb they gave us, basically.
Yeah, and the lady that's the showrunner,
Leslie Headland
from Russian Doll.
I've not seen Russian Doll. Have you watched Russian Doll yet? Everybody
it's so good,
about it.
Dude. It's just good.
You know, it's one of those things that I've not had a massive amount of time to watch new TV. Like when I'm working during the day, I'll put on stuff I've seen before because I don't have to concentrate on it. So like if it runs on and I've got work, you know, I can just ignore it. But when I'm watching something I've never seen before, I like to kind of give it my time and attention.
Make sure you focus.
There's been that much things to watch over the last few months that, you know, finding time for something else and work, Xbox time, family time, and everything like that. I just never get around to Russian Doll. But everybody that watches it says it's great, and I should watch it. So
you should definitely give it the three episode try at least. I was hooked, man. Christine and I just binged it all in a single night. I got a question for you. Something that we talked about towards the end of our last episode, with all of the stuff that we're seeing in Mandalorian season 2, that with Moff Gideon, what apparently are clone vats, powerful force users' blood, and yada yada yada. It's safe to assume, not guarantee, but safe to assume that we're going to get a little bit of connective tissue to the sequel trilogy through this
sort of Mandoverse. I feel like that's what I'm calling it, the Mandoverse, because it was first. But yeah, it is basically, you know, the Favreau Filoni thing. It's possible. It is possible. We don't know. My guess is yes, that's the way things are headed. I don't know if that's necessarily the end point of that story. I think these characters' story could finish to an end point which doesn't necessarily push straight into the sequel trilogy, but that gives us enough information to add extra information into where things could have went. I'd like to see something, I said it before last week, my preference would be animated so that Hamill can still voice the character. I'd like to see Luke and then eventually Luke and Ben and stuff like that, and try to understand how Luke got from where he is when we see him in the end of The Mandalorian, which is Fangasm, Luke Skywalker Jedi Master, to the kind of
grand
mess
Jedi Master
in The Last Jedi. I don't particularly like The Last Jedi, but, you know, one of my criticisms about it is not fully understanding why Luke is the way he is. You know, that flashback him almost attacking, you know, Ben just wasn't enough for me to push it all over the edge, you know. So I would have liked to see, you know, what was so dark about Ben that made Luke so scared, you know, which is, you know, is really a kind of negative emotion. Why did he why did he give up, almost give up? You know, what pushed him to that point, you know, and that's what I wanted to see.
Here's the funny thing about how the EU explained Jason Solo needing to die. Spoiler alert for those not reading have not read the EU.
No one's
Luke,
reading that anymore.
In the EU, Luke goes to the dark side during the Dark Empire stories. He's the cloned Emperor's apprentice. Lightsaber duels, Leia, he's brought back,
I didn't
yada
like
yada. I'm backfilling, and so Luke has darkness in him, of course, Anakin's son, and his own trip down the dark side. When Jason becomes Darth Caedus and is burning the forests of Kashyyyk and destroying other systems and trying to kill his parents and stuff, Luke tells Jaina she has to be he had a prophecy that she would be the sword of the Jedi. And he's like, look, if I go do this, not only will it happen, and it'll happen easily, it'll send me down the dark side because of the emotional toll on this. You are the only one of us strong enough, but both of her emotions and understanding the choice needing to be made, and strong enough to defeat him. So Luke charges her to go kill, and that made more explanation and kind of make it, whether you like it or not. At least there's an explanation.
Well, see, if they'd made
things,
I don't know how they would have did it based on the story with the Force Awakens, but if they'd connected them so that Rey and Ben were twins or something like that, and they'd went down that road, like we'd thought that wasn't going to be the case, and it ended up being the case, so we get the duality of it, would have made much more sense as a sequel trilogy in terms of the duality of the Skywalker line, one going bad and one going good, and whether whether once again that person could be redeemed again,
There's a million things that could have been done,
but it wasn't. Do you think
that Filoni? It's to me. There's times while watching the gallery episodes, the behind the scenes stuff on the Mandalorian on Disney Plus. There's times where I think you can tell, and tell me if you believe the same. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. There's times where you can tell it's the Disney clean, hey, say this good, positive thing. And then there's other times when Filoni and Favreau especially are talking about something OT related, usually Lucas related himself, where you could tell it's real, like it's authentic, like that is truly. I get it's a open secret that they didn't like the prequel trilogy, and Filoni basically worked to make the prequel trilogy.
I mean, not really. I mean, Filoni loved the prequel trilogy and actually went on a rant not that long ago about how brilliant it was, but what he saw was Lucas's vision rather than what the end product was. So I can see Filoni's point of view with the prequel trilogy, but
of
the
expanding it to make it
shit. So I think what he did is he initially, season 1 of the Clone Wars is by the way, it's garbage. It just felt like some shitty cartoon, and it just didn't seem any reason to give Anakin an apprentice that had been and gone off screen in the 3 years between, but as it went on, I think he became into his own more, and I think what he did is he started to, with Lucas's guidance, remember, because Lucas was sort of heavily involved in that, he started to push the kind of story that we had we thought we saw in the prequels, and actually shows different sides of it that we didn't actually see in that intervening years between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And to be perfectly honest, at times the stories at that period, that over that 3 years, are better than the parts that we actually saw in the movies themselves.
Right. Exactly.
Save the final piece.
And that explains why some of those people, the kids, I think, that saw maybe saw Sith in theaters, but maybe were too young or don't remember catching clones, and were too young for Menace, but saw those on home video. But they got the Clone Wars. Like, I get them liking it, and I know Filoni likes the prequel era and the story set up. What I meant was, like you said, he hated the end product, the lack of the story, the missing stuff.
He's never said that, and I don't think.
No, I'm saying it seems like it.
I think it was just that was his job, was to fill in the gaps. So he did the best that he could with that, and as an honest away we look as his kind of guidance, and he pushed things and changed things a little bit from what we were expecting. I mean, the whole a chip implanted in the clones, story is much more authentic and quite a good mystery story as well to tell, compared to, almost, I feel like that was where Attack of the Clones should went. Like Attack of the Clones starts, it's all a mystery about these clones. There almost seems like if you could almost just have had a live action series after that, I mean, see if they had the Disney Plus then, and we could have had several live action series of the Clone Wars before they made Revenge of the Sith. It could have really been absolutely amazing, and kind of and I think probably would have showed Lucas that he wasn't the person that should have been behind the director's chair for the third one either, because he wouldn't have been able to do that all on a TV series. He would have had to bring in other people, and the quality would improve, the writing would improve, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure if, I mean, no one knows, and you'll never hear it because Favreau, Filoni will always speak positively about the sequel trilogy, I believe, because that's the company line. You have to do that. I get the feeling
sterile times
that neither of them
liked it,
because what they're doing is very different to what was in that, and the way things were done for that sequel trilogy. I just felt like J.J. Abrams almost went, okay, here's the movie I'm going to make, and this is it. That's it. You don't like it, I'm not doing it. And he was big enough that Lucasfilm just basically went, okay, we believe in you, you're the next big thing, so we're going to go with that. I don't know what he kind of really did to earn that reputation, to be perfectly honest. I mean, The Force Awakens was his biggest film by a country mile.
Yeah,
I didn't particularly like what he done with Star Trek. Mission Impossible 3 was nowhere near as good as the ones that have come after it, to be honest with you. It was
better than 2.
It was better than 2, but that's not a big metric.
That's not hard.
Super 8 was almost like an ET wannabe, but I just don't get what the best thing for me that Abrams was ever involved with was Fringe.
Lost. Fringe.
And even then, I don't know how involved he was in a day-to-day with the kind of scripting process yet, but that was one show they actually managed to give an end for once, you know what I mean? But I never thought it was the right choice, and I think he come in with an ego and made The Force Awakens and just made the film he wanted to make without, to hell with all the consequences of how this would have actually happened. Let other people worry about that. I'm too big to worry about the backstory, you know what I mean? I'm writing a script and I've got a film here that I'm going to make, which was basically like, let's reverse everything and start for the start again, to me. You know, just so he could do what he thought, which was basically remake A New Hope, and you know, there's just too much of that in it for me, you know, with a little bit of Jedi as well, and that kind of initial The Force Awakens. But at the end of the day, we've got what we've got. So if you think, right, you can't change the films, right, all you can do...
No, you that well of the worlds or whatever, that is the whole reason Ahsoka still exists, dude. I don't know if Disney would let them do it.
You couldn't use the new the old actors. They'll all be too old by then. By the time you ever got there, and were able to do it again.
No, not to redo episodes 7, 8, and 9 necessarily, but to diverge timelines maybe, and using things like animation and recasting, do new stories or something with the old characters leading up to a potential different type of 7, 8, and 9 that's set, 50, 60 years after, we're talking 10, 20 years after Luke and Leia and Han are dead. I don't know.
Defeat. You know what I mean?
Disney will never do it.
They'll never do that. At the end of the day, it's now about just
I'm just saying the potential hole, because of Disney's own ridiculousness, the potential is there to do something fucking nuts like that. I
wish, because I hate the sequel trilogy. It's just not for me, but I don't
Here's
the thing that nobody's mentioned, by the way, since the Disney Investor Day, when they announced the next few years and what's happening, and we've got 2 movies. There's no mention of Rian Johnson's movies, was there?
No mention.
And he hasn't said anything about it. And normally I would expect one of the fans maybe ask him, "Hey Ryan, is your movie still happening, after that, since they weren't announced?" And let's see what his response was. But that's not happened so far.
Nobody's even asking him about it. I've seen a little murmurs online about it. It's almost like, because the very last thing we heard was something like, "I'm still working on it, and we'll see what happens."
Yeah, we'll see what kind of happens. It's kind of up to Disney.
I think that's how he phrased it. And I think a lot of fans, maybe even some publications, trades, whatnot, are too nervous to even tweet at him and kick the hornet's nest that it wasn't mentioned, because you do have a few rumblings out there of why wasn't it mentioned. So I don't know.
Is the rumblings that basically it's been canned then, I assume? Is that what people are saying? I've not seen this conversation anywhere, so
I believe it's been canned. What they believe,
because I've just not seen anybody discussing it. That's the thing, I go on to Reddit, I go on to other places, I want to know all the different sites,
YouTube comment sections, a few
hopefully
Star Wars Facebook groups,
Doomcock or anything like that. You don't watch them.
No.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, Kathleen Kennedy is actually a clone, and she was killed 3 years ago.
Not the YouTubers themselves, like I said, comment sections and stuff, and then some of the comment sections in Facebook groups. We'll see.
Let's work on editorial at some point. What the fuck is happening with Rian Johnson's movies? But it could just be that they're like, nah, we're not going there just now, but we're not saying we won't go there, but you're working on stuff, we've got stuff planned, let's talk about this in a year or two's time, Maybe they want to kind of give it time to sort of settle. The weird thing is, and I've said this before, that I think if Rian Johnson was given a trilogy to do from start to end, I think he could do a much better job than he did with the one part. I'm almost... I know there's some fans that wish J.J. Abrams had made all 3 Star Wars movies. I kind of, even though I dislike The Last Jedi, The Force Awakens penned it in so much, and then the Rise of Skywalker was just so badly executed, you know what I mean? In all ways I can think of. It's just a jokey a movie, really is. And then, makes me think, actually, I would have rather seen a trilogy where Rian Johnson started it and went in, because I think if his idea of where things were in episode 8 or where his mind was going, I think he would have told us how we got there in the previous one more, if that makes sense. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
I think he's a better storyteller than J.J. Abrams is.
I agree.
I just didn't like. The military stuff that he did would be my technical criticism of him, and we've been over that many times before.
He needs a dedicated Star Wars and military, like Star Wars military and real military advisor.
His battles just didn't work for me, and I just don't get the point of the whole, because it just went nowhere, the whole Canto Bite stuff as well. But maybe if he had a trilogy to explore that theme more thoroughly, then maybe I wouldn't be so critical of
potentially.
it. I don't know.
My only issue with Johnson is, I worry about sometimes him looking to make Earth-based statements, and
was Star Wars not in a way that itself? I mean, Star Wars, the rebels were basically, the anti-establishment at the time in the 80s when, everything was seen as,
and talking Cold War shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
there was a lot of that stuff going on at the time, evil empires, and
even writing his stuff in the 60s and 70s with the Vietnam War, I don't really see a lot of correlations.
I was more based on sort of World War II in terms of like the Nazis, like the Empire were like the rise of the Nazis.
Oh
but they won.
Historical stuff.
It was almost like that.
Like I,
which would have been in Lucas's mind growing up in Vietnam as well.
The historical stuff, absolutely. Here's what I'm getting at. I'll be a little bit more blunt with it with Rian Johnson. The sappy dappy fucking bullshit of winning war with love, not by killing what
I fucking hate that line. That is one of the worst lines in Star Wars. Sorry, I don't care. That is prequel quality bad. That's as bad as some of the shit that Anakin and Padme say to each other. And
without touching any of the other military stuff, I'm with you 100%. But by the middle chapter, you're expected more story exposition, and just having Rey just still in the middle chapter be this all powerful being with no explanation, male or female.
If that had been a male character, I think we'd all have still been saying who is he, right? We'd still have been saying who is he, because the way he or she, in this instance it was a she, accelerates is, and which I think they've tried to explain something canon wise about that now. She had some special skill that this one other Jedi can learn things really, really quickly. That's part of
she can download Force abilities from touch, basically.
Do you know what? I'm okay with that kind of Deus Ex Machina. Put it in the film though.
If you put it in the
film, give us.
That's all we ask.
Some sort of Luke could have told her why she was so good at. He could have explained it to her. That doesn't necessarily make her more powerful. It just makes her a faster learner, which is which is also dangerous as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you can become overconfident, and it
didn't have to. It didn't have to be exactly like. I hate the people that are like, "Oh, Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy and he blew up a Death Star." No. In the first movie, you learn that Luke Skywalker is the son of a great Jedi Knight that was betrayed and
barely uses
killed.
The Force in that first film. He barely uses.
What was that?
He barely uses the Force in that first film. It's more, other than Kenobi talking to him for the grave to encourage him on.
Right.
It's almost just getting that first glimpse of it.
Right, but what I'm saying is they already explained A, he's a really good pilot on his own, and then B, they explain that he has a Jedi lineage, and an important one at that that also was a good pilot. So there's some character exposition, like just right there.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I mean, you normally expect that when somebody says, "Oh, your father was a great pilot," the kid's going to be a great pilot as well. In real life, it doesn't work, but in movie world, that's usually how things go.
Here's the thing: Star Wars feels like the old world set in a futurist in a sci-fi setting because everything's very colonial, tribal. So no, I would definitely expect family business type stuff. So if your dad's a pilot, I think your son's likely to be a pilot.
I mean, it's a different world for the one we live in at the moment. There's not
because we used to be that
worlds
way. If your dad
where you
was
could do whatever you want, but there's poor worlds where you'll have to do whatever you can to survive, and if that's learning a trade off your parent or something, so be it.
Well, back in older days, medieval 16th, 17th century, you had places where with like the guilds and stuff like that, your dad's a blacksmith, you're going to be a blacksmith unless there's a lot of money to get you out of being a blacksmith. So I don't know.
Or somebody was super smart and therefore, had enough money to go to college and be a doctor, and then they changed the way the family went more upper class at that point, etc.
Or they're painting something and it catches the eye.
It wasn't,
of some
you didn't get to go to
artist.
University in those days or learn because you were clever. You could be the cleverest person in the world. If no one was paying for you to go, you weren't going. It's as simple as that.
I kind of like how Star Wars has that old world feeling in the sci-fi world, but we'll have to talk some more about it later. I got one last little question for you because you already know what I said on Slack, but after finishing, no spoilers, but after finishing Wonder Woman 84, do you have any concerns at all about Rogue Squadron, knowing that she wrote more, she had more of a hand in writing for 84 than the first movie, the way I understand?
Well, I mean, I think she's an idea person, Patty Jenkins, in terms of, like Spielberg, she has good ideas for films, but she doesn't write the scripts. So the scripts still come from script writers. So depending on who you hire, that could make a difference. I have not seen Wonder Woman 84, but I have read the script. In my opinion, it was a poor script. I read it quite some time ago. It leaked very, very early in the process.
That's what happens when
the whole
takes
thing,
18 months to release a movie.
So what Maxwell Lord was doing, how Cheetah comes about, where the golden armor was, that was all in there from that kind of draft that I read, and it just didn't engage me on a paper. But I thought, well, who knows what our talent is like? We'll see how it kind of translates on screen, because sometimes a script, unless you're skilled at looking at it. But what I'm hearing generally from fans, because we don't get it in video to man till next week, so I'll probably, depending on how much it costs, it's probably about £15 to rent it or whatever. So it depends if anybody actually wants to sit down and watch it with me or not. I'm not spending £15 to sit there and watch a movie I don't like for 2 hours.
VPN, man, VPN. I'm telling you, you can watch wherever you want from VPN.
Yeah. Well,
anybody want to sponsor us? I'll sponsor VP. I'll plug VPNs all day long. So I've still to see it, but have read the script and I have been listening to what other people say. And I wrote about it today, and I said the people that I find are harsh critics, right, as opposed to the people that are, you're too harsh with movies. I like just anything a little bit more. And we've got people of both in our team. And I would say you're like me, you're a cynic, harsh critic, right? Hard to please, right? And the people like that, I'm hearing are saying it's garbage. The people that are a little bit more, live and let live, are saying it's not as bad as it seems, but it's got some issues. Do you know what I mean? And that tells me it's not a good movie.
So
I can't stand, and I'll name drop Jammer, you, the other morning. I can't stand the people that are like, it was just like Ghostbusters 2016. Well, it had this problem, that problem. The story wasn't good. There was pacing issues, editing issues. Some of the actresses were weak. I didn't quite get this, that, and the other. But overall,
it was a B.
I still enjoyed the movie. I'm giving it a B+. Like, what?
It is just the way different people are, you know. I mean, some people just look in things as the more positive. You can see the negatives, but still, if you enjoyed your 2 hours and 15 minutes, then it's a plus in your book. It's harder for me to enjoy sitting in front of your TV for 2.5 hours. You know what I mean? If you're not going to engage me, I'm going to be pissed off by the end of it if it was a pretty shitty experience. Especially I have to pay for it. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely more critical.
I'm a little. I'm not in freak out mode or anything because, like you said, writers, other producers, advisors, all sorts of things.
Jenkins
go into
is
this
very
stuff.
early in her career. She's done like 3 big movies, and one of them was low budget. DC, Warner Brothers, not the best studio to work with, in my opinion. You know, I mean, especially for somebody who's not got the power. Like Patty Jenkins got a bit of power because Wonder Woman did so well, but she didn't have a lot of power when she was doing that. Not like James Gunn had when he came over to DC and basically just said, well, I'm going to do this, and they went, okay James, do whatever the hell you want, you know, because he had that pedigree behind him that he knows. DC know that people will go just because it's James Gunn. They will go and watch Suicide Squad. Simple. Yeah. And I would. It's the first DC movie other than the Batman that I would say, theatre, day one, I want to see what James Gunn does with this because I like him as a director.
I mean, I've got HBO Max, so I'll see it on that. But
I wasn't a massive fan of Wonder Woman to begin with. I thought the movie had a lot of issues, but it was okay. Watchable, you know. Thought the ending was pretty weak. As I say, I read the script for this and thought this just isn't my cup. It's just not my cup of tea. I have to say, I just don't like the campy nature of the whole plot to do with wishes and, you know, magical fucking powers and
it's the fact that after seeing that and learning that she had a hand in writing 84 and then hearing Chris Pine's words about Rogue Squadron that Jenkins told him about the story. That makes me think she's going to have a hand in writing. Maybe not.
I think she's got
dialogue.
An idea. I think she's got an idea of what she wants that film to be about, and that's what she's pitched to Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm's went, okay.
And now I'm worried.
I think we just have to wait and see. It's okay to be worried, but you know, I'm not overly concerned. And if we start to see things or hear things that are troubling, maybe I'll start to react differently to it. But at the moment, I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think this could be her. Wow, Patty Jenkins
Magnum
really
opus,
is, you know,
maybe,
I mean, she is a name for the future, you know, she's now a big name because she pulled off a good Star Wars film, and ultimately that's all she really needs to do, Kyle, right, because it's not really attached to anything else, you know, it just needs to be a good Star Wars film.
It needs to be and the
action needs to be good.
No, I don't think it needs to be just good. I think it has to be great, and we can have this discussion maybe next week a little bit. I really think a lot rides on Rogue Squadron more than you or Jammer may think, but barring any special news between now and next week, I think we'll save that discussion for then.
Yeah.
What do you think? Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more structure and intro and outro and all that. But let us know what you guys think about all of the future stuff.
And if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, you know, if you want to hear your guys' opinion on this, that, or whatever, you know, send us any suggestions you want, and we'll be happy to talk about it. and
there's going to be weeks where we have no news. So if you're like, hey, I really want to hear you guys discuss something specific, please put it in the comments. We'll put it down on the topics, and it'll be one of those when we don't have really a lot of newsworthy shit to talk about. So thank you guys, and welcome to the new version of the Cantina, the Cantina going forward for the moment. Cam, where can people find you at online?
At LRM_Cam on Twitter.
There you guys go. You guys know what to do. Website, lrmonline.com. YouTube channel. Please subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you're not going to listen to everything, hit that subscribe button. Help us out with YouTube a bit. And, of course, the podcast network. If you do like these shows, make sure you guys are following us on Spotify and SoundCloud so you get notifications and can hear every new episode of great shows like this. Breaking Geek Radio podcast, no LRM's No Mercy, and LR Mornings. Find me at that Malone on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.